bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
To another exciting episode of Cap or No Cap. I am your host, Kevin C. Meggett. As you can see, I'm a standalone again today, but you know, we're gonna make it do what it do. I actually kind of miss Mr. King, and I kind of miss Janaea Butler, but you know, I get them when I can, and when I can't get them, I'm more than capable of standing alone. Today's show is gonna be about health, wealth, and politics. Before we get into the healthy aspect and the wealth aspect, we're going to talk a little bit of politics today. Let's start on the in some local news. A lot of homeless people are actually being targeted in New York City, and they're actually being murdered, which is it's very, very sad to hear that someone is running around murdering street homeless people. I for one believe whoever is doing this is a suspected white supremacist. You got to understand that white supremacy, they target weak targets like homeless people, women and children. That's their fingerprint, that's their MO. And you know, we're moving closer to April, which is their month. If you know, February is Black History Month. April is White Supremacy Month. It's the time around Hitler was born. A lot of key figure people were born, and they go out of their way to harm usually foundational black people, but all black people for that matter, around that time. So instead, maybe, you know, the NYPD really should do a better job profiling some of these suspected white supremacists, because I'm sure that's what you're gonna get. I'm sorry, I'm a little tongue-tied today. Had a long night last night. We were doing a women's celebration for Women's History Month, and we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later. I also want to touch on the Ukraine crisis. You know, they keep pushing this narrative down foundational Black Americans' throats about stand with Ukraine, pray for Ukraine. Now, family, I think I said this last week on the show. I don't want you to think I don't have any type of empathy. I do. I feel horrible that, you know, innocent women and children are being murdered and slaughtered. It's not right, but it's not my fight. And in fact, it's really not America's fight, you know, but America seems to put all of her resources into over prioritizing other groups. So now we're over prioritizing the Ukraine. So we should have, you know, I said this last week as well, when I happened to see a lot of these elected officials, Christian Gillibrand, Hakeem Jeffries, Mondaire, Congressman Mondaire, Shirley Lee Jackson, all of these folks, you know, stand with Ukraine and pray for Ukraine. You better pray for yourself, family. My whole argument with that is foundational Black Americans have unresolved business right here in the form of reparations. And we need to have that same energy praying for Ukraine and standing with Ukraine with praying and standing for yourself, so that we could move forward as a people just like any other group of people. So again, I don't hate on what's going on in the Ukraine. What they tend to tell you or not tell you, what they tend to tell you is pray for Ukraine. What they tend not to tell you is that the Ukraine is a safe haven and training camp for neo-Nazism. And that's kind of like Russia's whole gripe with it, you know. So now if these refugees come here, if you have Ukraine refugees, they're going to come here with a neo-Nazi mindset, and they're going to practice the same anti-black racism that other group, like the white LGBTQ community practice, the same racism, white supremacy practice, the same racism, the Asian model minorities practice towards us. Foundational Black Americans, you really don't have any friends. And the quicker you learn that, the happier we'll be. We just need to close in on our own ranks. And, you know, I, for one, don't think that these refugees should absolutely come here, because there's plenty of places in Eastern Europe or in Europe by itself where they could go. Send them to Poland, send them to Ireland, send them to Great Britain. That's a European problem, an Eastern European problem. So I don't know why you bringing them all the way, because they're going to say, well, we haven't done it yet. But the key word is yet. They're coming, I promise. And they're going to be over prioritized over foundational Black Americans and our issues. But they're going to bring them all the way from the other side of the world here to give them tangibles and resources like housing, emergency this, emergency that, money for businesses, pretty much the things that we've been asking for as foundational Black Americans in the form of reparations. They are going to get, just like the Afghanistan refugees. Do you know, family, in Fort Dix in New Jersey, the people there the reservists can't even drill there, because you have all of those refugees from Afghanistan in Fort Dix. Now, they're there getting housing, allotments, and resources and tangible. Do you think that they're ever going back to Afghanistan? No. They're another group of people that's going to come here and practice the same anti-Black racism towards us. And we gotta stand firm, and we have to stand strong in our fight to make our voices heard. And it may take voting, and it may take not voting. But what it does take is having an honest conversation of what we can and shouldn't do, you know, and we have to get on one accord and get on some type of codified code where we can actually function like other groups. All right, I digress with that, but NATO, I don't know how much, you know, I think the Biden administration has been pretty much saying that America wants to pledge 6.5 or $6.6 billion towards the Ukrainian crisis. All right, y'all don't see anything wrong with that? It's my tax dollars, your tax dollar. I see a lot wrong with it. You know, we have homeless veterans. You have a place in California called Skid Row that was developed by veterans. You have them living in the streets in tents, and a lot of those folks have American flags on top of their tents while they're street homeless. But we have $6.6 billion to commit to Ukraine. How much is Poland? How much is the rest of NATO? How much is the body of NATO? What are their commitments? We see what our commitment is. Who's matching our commitments, right? So you want to fix the homeless crisis, especially and particularly amongst veterans? I have an idea. Why don't you take that $6.6 billion that you in the Ukraine and throw it towards veterans that are homeless? I don't understand how you have a veteran homeless crisis, particularly and especially those that are war veterans, like myself. I'm a war veteran of the United States Navy. they should have HUD-VASH vouchers whether they need it or not. Just because they put their life on the line for the interests of this country. Not so much democracy. We tend to think we're fighting for democracy, but we're really fighting for special interests. So we got to really dig through the special interests and see where we could have some type of democracy, because we act as if poverty has been ridden in the United States, and it hasn't. What's happening is it's getting deeper and it's getting wider, and we're being actually bleached out. Those that come from a lineage known as foundational Black Americans, or the descendants of American slavery. So, a lot of other groups don't want us to have reparations, but it's because they're not entitled to it. And I think it's very selfish of them, because they benefit indirectly, because in the Caribbean and Hispanic, I'm not sure about the African community too much, but maybe just a little bit, but in the Caribbean and the Hispanic community, we're so entwined, and to a degree, even the African community, we're entwined as a people. So if you have a child that is where the father's foundational Black American, the mother's Caribbean, that child's still foundational Black American, he or she is still entitled to it, so you benefit from it indirectly. But to say, oh, I didn't partake in slavery, and this is an argument I had on social media yesterday. I didn't partake in slavery. I don't see why I should have to pay for it. You came here and you benefited from my ancestors' sacrifice in this country. It's almost as if you're eating the marrow out of their bones of their sacrifice. So and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but you kind of left a failing country to come here to make it. I never ran away. I never left my country. This is my country. So when they build walls, when Trump was building walls and sending people back, the only place he could have sent me back would be to Edisto Island or Charleston, South Carolina, and shout out to them. So again, recap real quick. I believe Ukrainians should stay in Eastern Europe. They should not come here. They should not come to the United States in the name of being refugees. These politicians need to stop that. They're playing you like a fiddle. And that's my problem with the Democrat Party, that they shame you. We all one big melting pot, and that's not the truth. You have conservative Democrats, you have progressive Democrats, you have liberal Democrats, you have all of these different variations of Democrats, but do you know what they all have in common? They distinguishing themselves away from you, foundational Black American, because you're just saying, I'm a Democrat, and the rest of them are just saying, well, I'm a Democrat, but I'm not like these people. So we got to get the language right. Eastern Europe, take care of your problem throughout Europe. Same thing in the Haitian, like with Haiti. Haitians should be able to go into France. You should have a bunch of refugees going from Haiti into France, because they're the reason why, France is the reason why Haiti is so poor today. And they don't take ownership. I just want you to see the mindset of the white supremacists. They won't take ownership of what they do, but they are the primary reason why why Haiti is so poor today. And by most standards, shout out to my Haitian and brothers and sisters in Haiti. Y'all really do be holding it down. But we got to start changing how we move. And we can do it. It's brain surgery is easy if you know how to do it, So real quick, the gas prices. Shout out to my homegirl, Janaea Butler. She couldn't be with me. She's the co-host of this show. But she put up a very interesting post that I reposted, and I thought it was so accurate. It was funny, but it's true. And what makes the truth, what makes a joke so funny is the truth that's attached to it. And so she put up a post, and I might be paraphrasing right now. $20 is the new $5 on the pump. But she's absolutely right, because these prices ain't going nowhere. And, I don't know what to tell you. You voted for this. This is what you voted for. So here we are with these outrageous gas prices. George Bush is probably, former President George Bush is probably grinning from ear to ear because his family was in the oil business. So he's winning right now. He's probably he's so happy, it's probably a billionaire. But we talk about Republicans starting wars to get reelected. Look at the data, analyze it. The Biden administration seemed to be doing the same. I just hope that we don't have a full-fledged conflict with Russia per se, because I don't think with two countries that are nuclear armed, no one wins. No one wins that kind of war. So family, we got to take care of each other. But that's me on the politic end. We're going to come back right after this real quick commercial break. And we're going to talk about health and wealth and why it's important. But we'll be right back. This is Kevin C. Meggett, Cap and No Cap.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Cap or no cap, Kevin C. Meggett. Had to get the politics stuff out of the way because, for the most part, this is what I do here. I always say I thank Millennium TV 24 for giving me this platform, because if I wasn't in here, I'd probably be on someone's couch telling some of my problems. But without further ado, I'm going to bring on my guest. Her name is Etoy, and we're going to talk about her experience, and she has a movement, a company, a logo, and a name called Etoy. It's an experience. Welcome to the show, Etoy. How are you?
Thank you. I'm blessed. Thank you so kindly for having me.
No, thank you for being. So a lot of people don't know we have a history. I actually worked with Etoy. We worked together in Brooklyn, and she's always been a real grounded person. And we were just, we're friends. I mean, so we were friends. We're still friends. We're friends. But I've watched this transformation with her, and it's like so incredible that I needed to have her on the show so we could discuss this. So let's talk about Etoy as an experience. What is it?
It originally started out as a product line: candles, soaps, butters, body washes, but everything was all natural, organic, made with my hands, my spiritual healing hands. When I had a nervous breakdown last year, this year I transitioned it and stepped it up to also a mental health experience as well. People don't understand how much we are affected by mental health living in this society, because we go on our everyday to-day life and we don't talk about it. So now I'm creating a space where we can be able to talk about mental health, so that we can be able to heal together and learn from one another and teach one another.
I see. I'm very familiar with your products. Are you still selling them, or is that part of now the whole entire experience of?
Yes.
You just expanded the experience then.
I just expanded the experience. I had stopped making the products last year in order to take time to heal myself.
Okay.
Which was very well needed. That's another thing. Sometimes we just go and go and go and go. We don't have space for ourselves. We don't hold grace for ourselves because we're so busy in the rat race. So what I did was I just stopped everything and took time for myself because there won't be no product if there is no e-toy. There won't be no experience if there is no e-toy. So I just took time to heal me, and within that time of healing me, I realized how much trauma I was holding. Mental health goes so deep and it's so much on so many levels. As like, for instance, as far as women, we have a womb, and we hold all of our trauma in our womb, knowing and unknowing. Our memories, good and bad, experiences, good and bad, trauma from our ancestors. So our ancestors that had wounds, our woman ancestors, grandmothers, great grandmothers, so forth and so on. If their trauma was not healed in their lifetime, that was passed down to us from womb to womb, womb to womb, womb to womb. So how I realized that I went through the Sacred Woman program. Well, before the Sacred Woman program, I kept hearing my guides and spirit say, your womb, your womb, your womb, protect your womb, your womb. And I just was like, okay, okay, okay. But when I got into into her rites of passage, that was about womb healing. Everything just came together divinely. you know, uh, I didn't know that I had so much womb trauma. So doing the spiritual baths and the affirmations and the prayers and the cleansing and being more in nature, what I already was doing before, but I stopped taking care of myself. That rites of passage brought me back to myself. And your womb speaks to you. Women don't know that. A lot of women don't know that your womb speaks to you. Your womb has a spirit. So as I'm meditating on my womb and holding my hands, in the pyramid sign over my womb, holding my womb, talking to someone, asking her what is it that she needs, what happened to her, and instantly things just started coming up of things that was happening in my past. As far as relationships, when we have sex with toxic men, if they whatever they're going through, they dump that energy in your womb. Some people call it STDs, sexually transmitted demons, and it shows up at different parts of your life. So I also have a toxic mother who's still toxic to this day. God bless her. I will hold space for her and pray that she gets her healing. But I was in her womb, and she's toxic. So I was fighting before I even got to Earth. I was a premature baby. I came a month early. I was supposed to be
Right.
born December 1st. I came November 1st. And so I just want it goes. It's so much more deeper into that. Ego, jealousy, envy, insecurity. Trying to keep up with the rat race, keep up with your peers. There's just so much that goes into mental health that will make you have a nervous breakdown. And I'm wanting to hold space for that. People can feel comfortable and to be able to talk about that with not feeling as if they're going to be shunned or judged. It's going to be a healing space. And it's going to be no captive.
No cap. That's right. No cap. But let me ask you a question because you touched.
have space for that.
You actually touched on a lot of things, and I just kind of like gave you the platform to just continue. I would want to touch on some of the things that you said about trauma being passed down. You're absolutely right. You have genetic markings. We have genetic markings, especially. I mean, everyone has genetic markings, but foundational Black Americans themselves have a genetic marking from slavery. These are the things because if I've always advocated for reparations, but in order to, no one has, once we came out of slavery, we were just told pick ourselves up out of our bootstraps and carry on. But you were basically saying that to a shoeless people that didn't have any shoes. So we never stopped to think what was the mental trauma that we experienced, not only during slavery, but after slavery, Jim Crowism, and even up until today. So a lot of people try to say, oh, well, slavery happened so long ago, when in fact the last slave kind of passed away. I think it was in 1973 or 1974. That was in my lifetime, so it wasn't really that far away. So why is it important that we address mental health issues?
Well, one thing I want before I answer that question, one thing I want to say is that we may be physically free, but we are most are still enslaved mentally.
That's right.
We still are we still have those traits and attributes as if we was on the plantation. For instance, the one and only Willie Lynch. He did that speech on Virginia, in Virginia, and said if you were to, what's the right word? Because I'm losing my thoughts. If you was to apply, what I'm telling you today, it could last for 400 years, and he wasn't lying. Put everybody against the other, the lights against the darks, the fat against the skinny, uh, the old against the young. So what do you see now in our society, especially amongst the blacks? Um, Everybody's going for the bag, the bag, the bag, the bag. And if you don't have a certain kind of clothing, you look at it as you're not doing nothing with yourself.
Right.
Or you have these women that feel as though they have to have butt injections in order to feel important.
Right.
That's all mental right there. That's a mental aspect. And the reason why it's so important to have good mental health, because without the mind, there's no body.
There's no body. That's
And
right.
that's what they took from us. They took the mind and they left the body. Because if you could control the mind, you could get anybody to do anything. That's our birthright. Us, that when we signed that contract with the Most High to come here, one of our gifts that we got was our mind. We can be able to move mountains with our mind. We can have a conversation across the world from each other with our mind.
Right.
That's going deep, but everybody not ready for that. And that's what they took from us. They don't want us to know that because that's our power. That's our spirituality.
It's so funny you say that. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I probably will lose this thought if I don't. It's so funny that you say that, because if you look at the worship system in Kemet or ancient Egypt, and you look at the same worship system that the Aztec and the Mayans, it was an identical system. When you look at the perimeters of those temples in the Aztecs and Mayans and Incas, and you look and you measure it with the pyramids in Egypt, it matches out mathematically the same. So they had a very similar worship system. They have a very, their temples were very much identical to that of Kemet. Notwithstanding, we don't talk about this, but the biggest temple right here in North America is right outside of St. Louis, Missouri, and it's called Monk's Mound. This is my problem with equality. See, equality is a tricky thing. Equality is something that your oppressor don't want you to have, because God forbid we're playing on the same playing field, but it's something that we're scared to death of too, because with equality comes like 2 or 3 things that we're petrified of: accountability, responsibility, and hard work. So I'm sorry, I digress. But when you get a chance, because I know you in this spiritual journey, go to St. Louis, Missouri. It's called Monk's Mound, Munks Mound. And so we were mound builders as well. And later on in the show, probably like in a week or so, I'm hoping to have someone from the Washita tribe that can actually break that down. Places like Poverty Point and stuff like that. So we tend to think all black people came to this country via the Atlantic slave trade, and that's not true. We've been here forever. I'm not saying that the Atlantic slave trade didn't happen. I think that it's just highly grossly overrated, because foundational Black Americans, what makes a foundational Black American, you had to be one of three things: indigenous, Aborigine. That makes up a foundational Black American. The Moors, who traveled back and forth to the Americas way before Columbus was even a thought, before Columbus' father was even a thought. You know, they were coming back and forth. And then you had chattel slavery. So it's weaved in as a basket. It's all three of these is what makes a foundational Black American. So they didn't only enslave the African, but they enslaved the Black, the so-called Aborigine, indigenous people, which would be the parents of what we now call Native Americans. So it's interesting. I love your journey. I'm in love with your journey for the simple reason I bought all your products. I use it all the time. I actually still have some of your creams. So I'm glad to know. That's why I had to ask, did you just expand? Because I need to get some more soon. But to see this transformation in this journey, you're like a beacon of light. And well, we're going to go to a commercial break soon, but when we come back, I want to know what exactly put you on a path of this path that you're taking, which is a very spiritual path.
I was going to talk about that.
And I'm glad, because when we did an event together yesterday, and the folks that came out, they were like, oh my God, Itoy is amazing. Like you command a certain energy, but energy is transferable. You have good energy and you have bad energy. And if you don't think energy is transferable, go in a room one day and yawn and watch. A few seconds later, someone's going to yawn too. That's energy. But we're going to have, that's what
it can't be destroyed, but it can be transferred.
That's right. And it goes from form to form. But we're going to take a real quick commercial break. When we come back, I really want to know what put you on this path of spirituality. Would you explain that for us when we come back?
I sure will.
All right, we'll be right back. Cap and no cap. Be right back. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
We're back, cap or no cap. Got my host, Itoy. It's an experience. We were just chopping up some good game with respects to her spirituality. So I believe it was Frederick Douglass that said, "Freedom is a road that is seldom traveled by the multitude." With that said, what made you get on this road of freedom, Itoy?
You. Remember that?
I do. I didn't think you were gonna tell. I didn't think you were gonna tell the whole world, but okay.
I was already a rebel.
Right.
You knew that. I was already everything my ancestors. I was already conscious, but I guess spirit said it's time to take it to the next level of response to figure out who you are. Because I had so many questions. and the questions was not being answered. It just was like it just doesn't add up.
Right.
Like okay, and I'm the type of person that has to dig deep all the way to the core. Okay, so why? Okay, so why? Okay, so why? You know, until it gets back to the original.
Right.
And one day, you gave me this DVD called Spirituality versus
Versus
Religion.
religion. Dr. Ray Higgins, correct?
Dr. Ray Higgins, and I ain't never stopped since.
He's
It
a great
resonated
introduction.
with
Yes, he
my
is.
soul. It resonated with my soul. I said, okay, now we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, I just been going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Let me tell you something about the spiritual journey. You see this here? I mean, I was always beautiful,
Right.
you know,
Right.
not to toot my own horn, but and not to sound
It's not arrogant.
vague.
It's not vague. It's not but you know, it's. I look at it as confidence. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to say. But the spiritual journey can be dark sometimes
Mm-hmm.
because you have to face yourself. You have to go in order for you to have that healing that you really need. You have to dig deeper within yourself to find things about yourself that you have to let go. That's why they say know thyself, as above, so below. And everybody don't want to go there.
Right.
You know, everybody wants to have this facade or this, you know, this screen, this put up this smoke screen,
Right.
you know, and act as a, you know, such a way, but you have to be humble enough to go deep within yourself and recognize these things about yourself and who you are. And that's what the spiritual journey is about, self, so that you can be able to get to your ori, get to your higher power, get to your higher self, get to the God in thee, and find out the truth of what it really is. And when I don't smoke weed no more, but
That's
this is
good.
when I was smoking hella weed, and I was coming home from work, and to help out my mental health, which I didn't know at the time, I
Mm-hmm.
used to smoke.
Right.
And I was just praying, you know, what is the truth? What is the truth? And I heard a voice say, do you really want to know the truth? And I said, yes. They said, okay, it's not what you think. And get ready for the ride. And boy, have I been on the ride.
Right.
But it's the ride that I would do again if I have to. Because now I'm able to be a better mother, a better person, a better friend, a better attribute to the community. Now I can be able to be a leader to someone to show an example. Because you can't just show the highs. Spirituality is not just about the highs. You have to show your lows as well. That's when you find out exactly who you are.
Right.
When you go into that space, and everybody don't want to go there, but it's a must need, because that's when you break through everything that was taught to us within the slavery time that was passed down to us from womb to womb.
Let me ask you a question. Speaking of what we were passed down from womb to womb, I'm gonna hit you with a quick fact about slavery. So you know when you see a lot of pictures and stuff like that, you see men and women shackled to one another, right? And they're walking a line. You never see the kids shackled. You know why? Because they'll follow their parents. They'll follow their mother, actually. They're going to go where their mother go. Then kids are never shackled. They're just going to follow their mother. But with that said, is there a such thing as it pertains to slavery in America as PTSD or post-traumatic slave disorder?
Yeah, I believe so. And the reason why I say that is because, and this is no disrespect to anybody, because being that you said, you know, PTSD, when you're in the army, if your mind is not strong enough, they'll
You'll
take
collapse.
it from you.
That's right.
You know, in order to do their mission. And that's what this world is doing. You know, they put that idiot tube in front of you, and they put so much garbage there to distract you from what is really going on.
Right.
You know, and it really plays a major part within our homes. You know, to digress a little bit, if you break up the home there's no foundation. That's the true weapon right there. To have the mother and the father
That
to
was
be able to
and the child.
teach their children. Yes.
That was the original Trinity. You're absolutely right.
Yes.
They took the woman out of the equation and they put a spook, a mystery god.
You want to know why? Because the woman is so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
The woman holds the power.
Right.
You know, and the woman could take a broke down man that's willing, wash him up real good, bathe him up real good,
Mm-hmm.
give him a healing bath, give him some healing soup, lay her healing hands on him and make him anew.
Right.
Because she has a womb. The womb is also a healer.
Right.
The womb could either heal you or destroy you,
Right.
depending on how you use it. And that's another reason why they took us out the equation, because we are healers. You can't do anything without the woman. How can you take us out of the equation? You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for us carrying you in our wombs.
That's
You
true.
know, everything has it's man and woman. As above, so below. But everything is birthed through the woman.
Right.
Plants,
everything.
animals,
Sure.
fish, everything.
Sure. Speaking of cannabis, they rarely do they ever harvest the male plants. It's always the female plants. That's the one that buds up and seed, and that's the one that everyone break up the buds and everything. Those are female plants. So you're absolutely right. That's where the potency lies. So why is it important for young women to have health, good mental health, especially the young women today? I see so many young women that are just so lost. Why is it important for them to have good mental health and a knowledge of themselves?
So they can know who they are. It's funny you said that. I talk to my children all the time. I have 5 children, and 2 of them are daughters, and one is 16.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell her she must know who she is, so nobody cannot be to tell her who she is.
Right.
Nobody have to put the narrative on her.
Right.
So she can be to harness her own power and don't have to follow behind these trends and be lost in this world. I was there one time because nobody told me what it was.
Right.
And it took a while for me, to get back to find out exactly who I am as a woman, and if you don't know who you are, you'll be used and abused, especially as a woman.
And you won't know where you're going, right?
And you won't know where you're going. You won't know who you are. A man could just take advantage of you and do all kind of things to you and just toss you to the side, and then your womb will be damaged. And to have great mental health as well, so she can be able to teach her children.
Mm-hmm.
And so forth and so on. But it could just keep being passed down as a domino effect.
Mental health is, in my humblest opinion, is very important because it adds the stability to a family. See, you spoke about Willie Lynch earlier, and the original dynamic order of life looks a little bit like this. You have man, woman. Well, I'm sorry. You have God, which is a higher power than all of us, right? Then you have man, then you have woman, and then you have child, right? Child relies on the mother for nurturing. Woman relies on man relies on God. Or I like to say the woman and the man shares a shared responsibility. Because I don't really it's a shared responsibility. But the original order is like that. So what they did was they just flipped the order around. Where God is on the bottom, child's on the top. You know what I mean? Then you have woman, then you have man. You see where this is all going? So we have to be able to bring this back to.
You can't do nothing. You can't do nothing without the black man.
Right. And so you have to bring it back.
We need that masculine energy.
Right. And so that's why and you got to watch outside agitators, which is why I call it out. I call it exactly how I see it. You have outside agitators that would say, Me Too, LGBTQ, and I don't have anything against anyone living an alternative life, but as long as you're not, we went from trying to tolerate, because we're asked to tolerate, whereas the white LGBTQ is actually there to dominate. There's a difference. They're not there to, we're asked to be tolerant of other groups while other groups are dominating us.
Who's being tolerant of us?
Right. No one tolerates us. So I don't have anything against, I want to really put that on the record. I don't have anything against people living an alternative life. That's who you love is your business. Ain't got nothing to do with me. But I do have something against it when you actually trying to dominate my existence. Then it's problematic. And that's what the white LGBTQ community is doing. So basically what I'm saying is you have to watch outside agitators, because they'll say little things like, what do they say? Masculine, toxic masculinity. What is toxic masculinity? Toxic masculinity is me protecting my woman, my family, so forth and so on. Toxic masculinity is if I think you're going to hurt them, I will rip your head off. You understand what I'm saying? That's toxic and if that's toxic masculinity, that's just too bad. I'm not going to be apologetic, and I'm not going to change. And I'm going to urge everyone to ignore not being toxic, because what they want to make it is easy to hurt just black people on a whole. They demasculating you, right, but they want to hurt you on a whole. So that's why white supremacists pick weak targets. I don't know if you were listening to me earlier. They out here now shooting and killing homeless people sleeping on the street. They only doing that because they're deemed as being weak. So you'll find white supremacists, they'll pick on soft targets, women and children, homeless, but they won't bump heads with someone with toxic masculinity, because it creates too much of an opposition. So to whoever's listening, please hold on to your toxic masculinity. The divine gave it to you, and he gave it to you for a reason. Right? But you know what? We're going to take a real quick commercial break. And when I come back, I really want to find out where do you plan on going with this journey? Where's this journey going? And how can people get involved in your journey? And we'll just chop up some more game. But we're going to take a real quick commercial break, cap and no cap, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
I'm with Etoy. It's an experience. We sitting there, we chopping up real good game. This game is so hot. Like before we went on break, I was asking Etoy. I was said basically, where's this go? What do you? Because yesterday you did we did a Women's History Month celebration, and you did a poem, and I've never heard you do spoken word. I'm a big fan of spoken word. My daughter, she started off, her roots are in spoken word, which is why I think she's such a great rapper or MC, because of her roots being in spoken word. But I heard your piece. You did 2 pieces, and you did one about mental health, and like people were just talking about. I didn't know you had that. You have a lot of fire in you. Where do you plan on taking the spoken word, and how are you plan on expanding the brand of eToy as an experience beyond soaps, lotions, and butters and things like that?
Okay, well, the first thing I want to do as moving forward is continue my healing.
Okay.
I have to do that in order for me to continue to do spoken word and things of that nature.
Right.
And I want to say thank you so kindly for your kind words on my spoken word. I've been writing ever since I was a child.
Oh wow.
I had such a traumatic childhood. That was my only gateway to escape the madness. And the reason why nobody knew about my spoken word is because of fear, something mental, something with the mind.
You know, the
And
acronym for fear is false false evidence appearing real. I'm sorry. Go ahead. It's false evidence appearing. So when you don't have evidence of something, right, you have fear. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I digress.
And the positive acronym of that is face everything and rise.
That's right.
So that's what I'm doing. That's how I'm facing my fear.
Right.
I'm going to face it and I'm going to rise above. And I
Right.
said that in the poem, something like that in the poem.
You did.
So, my words is healing. Once I'm in the groove and I get over that fear, I know how to heal with my words. With the tone, things of that nature. And I'm actually writing a book called Resurrection. And it has my poems, my journals, affirmations, things of that nature, of everything that I have been through with this past year, and this year, moving forward. And that's going to be something healing. And I'm also going to be launching my podcast, which starts on May 5th, which I have the pleasure of having you as my first guest.
I'm honored.
Huh?
I am so honored.
Thank you so kindly. I'm honored. The pleasure is all mine. And I'm going to be holding space for that, to talk about mental health. I want to have artists on there, to do their spoken word, do their pieces. And I'm going to have psychiatrists on there. I'm going to have a few conscious kings on there as well, conscious queens, just to get this mental health going, because some people don't know they suffer from it, like especially anxiety.
Right.
They had diagnosed with anxiety, and I'm just like, me? Easily? No, like I'm the pillar. Everyone comes to me for help. So I had to actually humble myself and say, no, girl, like it's okay. It's okay. Hold space for yourself.
Right.
Forgive yourself.
Absolutely.
Love yourself, and move on. Because sometimes we beat ourselves up so much that we'll stay stuck in that place. So I'm also creating a space for that. And and hopefully it could expand. I'm a great writer. Maybe I'll do some screenplays. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there in the atmosphere. On healing. And also may hold space for events. I used to do events all the time.
That's right.
I love events. Have put on some events. Laughter is healing. I love to laugh. I love to smile, to have a good time. It has to be a balance. And that's what it is. Anything to
And that's the
one
Mayotte
side,
thing. Balance.
that's the Mayotte. Anything to one side or too much of anything is going to tip over to that side. So I was so busy working, and focused on all the negative that I wasn't enjoying my life anymore and laughing anymore. So once I let everything go, and let the divine have everything, and just let everything be, everything starts to fall into its place. And that's what they don't want you to know as well. Just let go because you came here for a purpose.
That's right.
So if you're here, everything is okay. You are good, depending on what side of the field you on.
That's right.
If you're doing this work to uplift, Mother Earth, then you don't have anything to worry about. And to also understand that this is just a lesson. We came here to learn lessons.
Right. I would
You
like to
understand?
see. I would love to see us get more in tune with our ancestors here. Like it's. I've always found it ironic that there is so much. Like, not too many people knew that we have. There must be at least 1,000, if I'm not mistaken, pyramids right here in the United States of America. You know what I mean? It's being hidden because it reveres who we are. You understand what I'm saying? So we need to get in tune with our ancestral ancestors here to become, to remember what our ancestors sacrificed. And that's why I kind of go so hard. When again, a lot of people would say slavery was so long ago, and I'm like, the last slave that was enslaved was that passed away was in either 1973 or 1975. That was in my lifetime.
Can I tell you a secret?
Yes.
I'm putting it out there in the atmosphere. I'm going to build a pyramid.
Listen, you can.
I'm going to be an ancestor one day.
You are.
I'm going to be an ancestor one day.
You are.
And I have to leave a legacy. So I need to do this work now.
Right.
Gain the knowledge I have to gain now, goals I have to go through now. And I'm going to build a pyramid.
Right.
And I'm going to do exactly how our ancestors did it, aligned it along with the stars and the galaxy.
Right.
Just in case if I have that, that communication from the other side. And for somewhere where my descendants could come and get their knowledge and get their healing. Why not? Why I can't do it?
Because after all, like if we're gonna talk health, or the real wealth is in our health.
That's the
we
wealth.
we fail to realize how rich we can be. I mean, the brother I told you that was the last slave that passed away in 1973 or 1975. He was 100 and something years old. They lived long. A lot of people think we just sat around and ate pig feet and all of that stuff, and that's not true. They ate mostly from their garden, from what they grew. And so and so we got to get back to what worked for us. I mean, destroying the system. See, I go hard on the system of white supremacy so much, Etoy, because white supremacy is man-made. And anything that man can make, man could destroy. We can destroy it. We just got to be on code. We got to get back to some fundamentals. You understand what I'm saying? So, I mean, a healthy mind is very important because like you said earlier, you can't do anything without a healthy mind.
You can't do anything.
And your oppressor knows that. Because I'm starting to see a lot of people on subways and buses that are with clear mental health, but no one's really paying attention. You can't talk about homelessness and keep gentrification out of the conversation. You understand what I'm saying? And so we are being gentrified to the point where America needs black people. They don't want foundational black Americans because they owe us so much. You understand? And so when you see a lot of people with mental health issues on the street going off, you can't fathom what that person has gone through. They could have just got evicted out of their home. They could have been thrown out of their home 2 years ago. We don't know. But there is no system to protect us, not even within ourselves. I don't expect much from the federal government until we figure out either how we're going to vote or how we're not going to vote. Because sometime I think there's something like 48 million foundational black Americans in the United States right now. If we all got on one accord and said, you know what, I'm not going to vote. I'm sitting this one out till y'all address our issues. Right? That spoke louder at a ballot than voting, than running there voting. Voting for what? Voting for who? There's no agenda on the table for you. And while we're doing that, we need to get our mind right. So I absolutely applaud the work that you do. I just want to learn how to expand it where it's tangible, where we can actually build a resource out of it. You know
what I wanted to do with you, and
what?
being that you said that, I want to do a festival,
A festival?
a mental health festival.
We could do that. Let me know. I'll talk to you offline. We could definitely do that. We could put that. We could actually put that into play.
Yes.
But real quick, because we're getting ready to. An hour goes so fast. We get ready to wind down. How can people find you? Where can they find you at?
They can find me on etoy_ it's an experience on IG.
Okay.
May 5th, my website will be launched again. Etoy it's an experience.com.
That's amazing, because it's amazing sitting here watching you talk and express yourself. And we're like in 51 countries throughout the world. You were like the
Really?
most, yes. You were the most shyest person that would never have a voice when we were working together. And I'm like, oh my God, like, the transformation is incredible. I'm actually going to call you offline after we finish airing. And because I'm going to be doing something with some women and some young girls, and I would like to bring you on a panel discussion to talk about mental health, talk about health and hygiene, so forth and so on, because you're just a bath of knowledge. But before we go, don't forget, download us on Millennium TV 24. We're on Roku, we're on Apple TV, we're on Androids, most devices, iPads, iPhones, all that good stuff. I want to thank Millennium TV 24 for giving me this platform week after week to bring amazing people like Etoy on. Make sure you go check her out, and we'll be back next week. Thank you so much, and have a good night. Peace.